All right, so everything's live. Hey guys, it's Noah. I'm here with Krista. She's going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about her story and how she got started in solar and everything like that. So, how'd you get started in solar?
Yeah, I was actually years ago. I was in the construction industry, and then thought I was going to end up running that business. My boss passed away, and the family closed the business down. So I was like, "Oh, what do I do?" I kind of went through a little struggle of I was living in LA. My boss passed away in the Midwest. I moved to Los Angeles with 500 bucks to my name. I lived in an RV on the streets for 2 years, traded my car, and did this crazy parking tango thing. And I was trying to figure out like what to do with my life. Didn't know about solar, didn't know about door knocking, didn't know about any of that stuff. I just realized I was kind of stuck in this rat race and was Uber driving, trying to make enough money just to get an apartment in LA and figure it out. And I came across like learning how to run Facebook ads and start an agency, buy a course from a guru and get that thing going. And then I started running a couple ads for like a dentist, a chiropractor, and I got a bunch of clients. It was cool, but I didn't really have any passion for it. And then because I was starting to make some money, I got a little tiny home outside of Joshua Tree, California, and I put solar on it. And I was just like, wow, this thing, like, it cuts the electric bills down. It's doing something to benefit the environment. I didn't realize maybe I kind of have a passion for this. And so I wondered if I could market for solar companies. And I started doing that and I fumbled through it. And I was one of those junk lead vendors, agency owners that like didn't get people results at first. But when my clients were telling me, like my leads were bad and stuff, I was like, well, maybe if I learned to sell solar, if I could actually sell it and understand that side of it, maybe I'd be better at the lead side of it. So that's what led me into deciding to sell solar, was trying to just be a better marketer. And then as time went on, my Facebook ad account got deactivated because how
Why
Facebook,
does that happen? I don't know.
they're AI, like
Yeah.
all this AI stuff. I think AI is going to be awesome for us in the next few years, but there's so many things still at this point where it's just in its infancy stage. This I remember because I went the agency I ended up working for a while. I went to Facebook like headquarters, Silicon Valley, and went to some conference, and they were like, it can read in ads like weed, for example. Like if someone posts an ad about marijuana, it can read the green, like see the green fuzzy stuff and like ban that picture. But also on the flip side, if like someone posted an ad with like Sesame Street with like a green, the green fuzzy creature, the AI would read that as marijuana and like ban their ad. So it was like the technology's there, but it's not. And so weird stuff like, if it reads something in your ad that something is political or something's controversial, but it's really not, it could end up just deactivating your account. And then you try to appeal it for however many days and years and just finally give up. And that's kind of what I ended up doing, was gave up on the Facebook side of things, running it myself, and just found some other automations and built my call team and stuff, because I'm limited from the Facebook side of things. So that's kind of in a nutshell how I got into selling solar and where I'm at with things today. I got a team, and today I think I got 8 appointments that I'm working in between this call. So
That's awesome. Eight appointments within this call? Is that what
no,
you
8 appointments today, and
Oh,
like
today. I was like,
I
during the call, it's only
finished,
been about
four
4 minutes.
appointments, and then this call, and now I'm gonna jump on four more appointments the rest of the evening. I think I'm working until like 9 o'clock this evening. So
Jeez, oh my gosh. So many solar people wish that they had that problem. They're all going door to door. So, I mean, your story is really interesting because, like, most people are actually, like, when they start out in solar, they're going straight door to door and then they work into that digital marketing spot. But you're like the complete opposite. Um, so, with that, I'm curious, like, why did they ban your ad account?
I still kind of don't know to this day. It said something, like it went against policy, and whenever I went and appealed it, and you know how Facebook does provide your ID and business name and info, and so I did that. I don't know how many times, and just eventually, I don't know if you know, but a couple of years ago there actually was like Facebook live chat support for the business ad manager, and like they've done away with that. They've done away with like any phone numbers to call, and so it's just you keep creating these tickets, and now it's no one's even doing anything with the tickets. And eventually I think like a couple times their AI continued to reread something in an ad, and a human is supposed to go check it, but it's probably like some hourly minimum wage hourly employee that's got a million ad accounts to go check and they're just not reading through things right. I don't know.
So where do you think the best place to get solar leads is right now?
Best place? I would say that my favorite thing, I still think that Facebook and paid ads and stuff is awesome. I want to look into a little bit more on like YouTube. I'm a DIYer. I come from a small town in the Midwest. My mom taught me like I'm a big fan of Goodwill. I'd go to Goodwill all day, every day compared to going to like somewhere on Rodeo Drive. So like it's just instilled in me to do the cheap DIY type way. So running the Facebook ads and stuff with my agency, I felt like I needed to know as much of it as I could, do it all myself. I really had a hard time outsourcing and even hiring employees and different things as I was building up. So I feel like Facebook and YouTube ads, it's something within me that feels like I need to learn it before I go pay someone else to do it, because we all know with marketing agencies and agency costs, they're upselling it. Like, granted, there's good reason for it. There's a lot of work and effort and making sure your ad account doesn't get banned and different things. But there's a lot of people like where I was back in the day that I was like, yeah, I'm a marketer. Someone come pay me $1,000 or whatever for the month. It's the second time I've ever really ran ads. Like, I might not get good results. So like we all have that fear of, am I picking the right agency? I still think there's some great ones out there, and getting fresh real time leads coming in is awesome. But I have found some services that are pay as you go, fresh real time leads where you don't have to pay agency retainers, and then they'll replace the lead if it doesn't fit certain parameters, low credit, low electric bill or something. So I've been doing that. I've got a good friend, a guy that kind of mentored me in the Facebook ad side of things, that he's got everything TCPA compliant. He's using like a marketplace and other marketers that can even get better. How do you word it? Like better data. What's it called? The pixel. It ends up having a lot lower cost, and
Mhm.
so he's just got a big marketplace where you can go get low cost leads, fresh real time that pop into like your Go High Level or somewhere. And then
Yeah.
my other thing is age leads. So something that a lot of people don't think about, a Facebook ad, and really any industry, a Facebook lead is going to be $10 to $100 per lead, especially in the solar space. Like Las Vegas, it's one of the highest in the country. I don't want to pay $100 for a lead to come to me day one, and I'm like, great, let's set up the time, and they're like, I got a million questions. It's too early in my buying process. I don't really understand this. I'm not ready to sign today. I'd rather pay 50 cents for that lead a week from now, whenever someone like me couldn't sell it on day one. And then I can go buy 1,000 or 2,000 of those. And we were chatting before this call, like automating it, do a voicemail drop and text sequence, put them into like a call center. I've got like about 40 commission based people that just work in my dialer all day and call leads and stuff for me. So I feel like the age leads and cold data, a lot of people don't know how to work it and don't know how to use it, but it's the lowest cost per and really any industry, roofing, real estate, any of that stuff. If you can buy a lead for a little bit cheaper, a couple days, a week later, I think that's where the real big ticket is.
Yeah,
Because
it's
I'm
all,
getting sales for like less than $500, where people
yeah,
on Facebook ads are getting them for $1,500.
it's almost like using like old shoes instead of going and buying like these brand new
Goodwill.
shoes.
My mom taught me Goodwill. I'll take the replacement stuff. I'll buy it for a lot cheaper, and it's gonna serve me well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like that's like the best way to do it. I mean, if you're able to, buy low and then obviously not sell high. Well, I guess yeah, you are selling high. You're right
Yeah.
there. So you're able to like, you use stuff. So how do you connect really over like virtual? Because a lot of solar people, especially, they have a hard time doing that because you're getting someone on a pretty big loan, like it's pretty big, um, like decision. So how do you kind of sell virtually and make it less? I don't know. How do you sell virtually?
Yeah. So I started out doing Zoom, doing the marketing agency stuff, just like we are now. Like we're in different parts of the country, so it's just easy to get on Zoom. In the marketing agency world, it was do a little like pitch deck on screen share, show you my services, my prices, whatever, sell you on this thing, and let's sign up and let's go. So when I switched over to selling solar, that just made sense to me. I started doing Zoom videos. And, you know, in this example, I can be like, oh, I see, you know, behind you, I see things on your wall. I can see, you know, your lamp or whatever. And I can kind of like, oh, you got these things in your house, you got this stuff, like kind of similar to being in person where we can connect over different things in the background. And then I've slowly transitioned over the last few years to literally just a phone call. It's kind of funny. I don't really tell people this much, but kind of getting into sharing more on virtual closing. I
Yeah.
do a phone call and a Google Doc with my slides inside the document, and I email them over the Google Doc. If something's not right, if I need to tweak the design, it's you know how Google Doc is. Like if I share it with you, you can see live updates right that second. So I'll take the wrong design out, put the new one in, and they're just on a phone call looking at my document. And I think the thing with building the rapport, it's a little different because I'm not sitting here going, "Oh, look at the stuff on your wall. I see you got this over there. Like, tell me about, you know, this little stuffed animal or this picture." I feel like the big thing for building rapport virtually is being the professional.
Yeah.
So I've got a script and a process that I go through every single time. I start off, you know, getting on the call with the homeowner and asking them real fast, like, "Have you ever looked into solar before? Have you ever, you know, what do you know about the net metering program?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, you know, I know everything about solar. This is my 10th quote." And I'm like, "Sweet, real quick, I'll go through this. Here's how solar works. Here's the net metering program." And they're like, "Huh, that's no one explained that part to me. No one explained that little bit." I'm like, I'm building rapport with you by not wasting your time, not chit chatting about the dog, not talking about the random stuff. And you're like, they appreciate the fact that I'm being quick to the point, but I'm slowing down and taking time in certain spots to make sure I educate them on how solar works. And it's interesting to me still because I'm like, I'm literally on a phone call. They can't see me, they can't anything. I'm sending them over a Google Doc. And sometimes if they can't open the doc or they can't see something, this guy yesterday, I just had to take screenshots and text it to him. So he's just looking at his cell phone, looking at these texts. And I think the big thing is taking the pressure. Like it's not about you. It's not about me. I'll be the vehicle that helps them get to this thing, but make it about them. And look, the money you can save. Look at the, you know, what you're currently paying to compared to what you can be paying. I'm going to be here along the way for you. I can, you know, phone call away anytime that you have questions or anything. But this whole thing's for you, and it's about you saving money and kind of remove myself from the equation and try to be this personable friend as much. I still like at the end of my calls, every time I close them, I'm like, here's my personal cell phone number. We've been talking my business line, but here's my personal cell phone number. You know, contact me anytime you need. I'm personable, I'm friendly, but I take that away a little bit. It's not about me chit chatting about the dog or the cat or whatever's in your house. But there's the issues like I just had yesterday. This guy, we got through the whole signing the docs. He kept having issues with pushing the buttons. And then, like 2 hours in, he's like, oh, the whole thing timed out and I got to redo the whole thing. Now, if I was in person, it would have been so much easier to like, all right, click here, push here. I could just show him where to push and we could have done it in 10 minutes. So there are some downsides to doing virtual as well. If they can't see or understand something, sure, worst case scenario, maybe I'll shoot them a Zoom link and we'll just jump on Zoom and share a screen and figure it out. But I feel like the couple sales that I might miss on someone being older, not being able to open a Zoom link, it makes up for it in the fact that I'm not door knocking, I'm not getting in the car and driving, I don't have an hour commute to go to a no show, and I can jam pack, you know, 8, 9, 10 appointments in a day. Maybe I lose one or two compared to where in person you might have been able to close it, but I can close 2, 3, 4 in a day compared to you having to drive around town and get to those appointments and not being able to get to them fast enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've noticed even through hearing about more virtual, it's like it turns really into a logistical close because you're just
Yeah.
helping make that decision.
I,
You're not there to push them to make a decision. You're not becoming friends or well, you're becoming a little bit like friendly, but you're not like getting really, really, really close to people. A lot of the solar closes that I know are like super like emotional. Like they get really emotional with the person, everything like that. For me, I was always pretty much a logistical closer. So it's like
and
that's
I'm
awesome.
analytical and very logistic too. And I think one of the things early on for me, I'll plug Jake Hess and the Solar Academy. He also I think owns or partially owns SolarCon now. But I went to an in-person event down in San Diego. A small little kind of intimate team got together, and we were talking about solar stuff. And I remember him. I kind of looked up to him. I didn't really know him too well. Kind of become friends now in the industry. But he made some comment while he was standing up speaking with us, and he was like, so many people, door to door guys want to go in and build this whole like 10, 20-minute thing on rapport. And, oh, I see you got this bumper sticker on your car. You must be a Dodgers fan, or I see your dog. Like, let's talk about this stuff. He's like, cut the BS. He's like, homeowners would appreciate you so much more. Like, they know you're there to sell them something. Don't beat around the bush and act like you're not. Like, cut the BS and just be the professional. They would appreciate you so much more and want to refer you more and all this stuff if you just come in, like, be nice, be kind, like, don't be a jerk or anything by any means. You'll still make a lot of friends. I got people hit me up that a year ago that I got them solar, and they're still like, Krista, here's a referral, or Krista, here's my production or something. And I'm like, literally never met them, never seen them face to face, and they treat me kind of like a friend because I took care of them, because I got them a good price. And that's another thing. Virtual, I tell all my homeowners, I'm like, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but I'm like, yep, because I do this whole thing virtually, I'm not door knocking, I'm not going out and wasting my gas. I'm able to get you a lower price than what all the door knockers are, because they want to sell it a little bit higher for all the effort and energy that they put into to get in there, this appointment, this sale, whatever. So working with me, just doing this whole thing over the phone, you actually get it a little bit lower price. And they're like, oh, yeah, appreciate that. But it is a logistical thing, going back to what you said. And I think it has to do with the set first. The show rate, the no shows and the show rate, I think is a little bit more difficult with virtual. If you are just doing a phone call, a cold call or something, getting somebody interested for an appointment, you can really tell if they're going to show up by them sending the bill, by them staying on the phone a little bit longer. I absolutely love to chit chat during the time when, like, I'm setting the appointment. So got the calendar up, typing their name in. That's a little spot that takes a bit of time and has a little bit of silence in between it. So I'm like, awesome, just got your name. Cool. How's your day going? Yeah, 4th of July just happened. Did you do anything fun? Awesome. Anything this weekend? Real fast, what was your address again? Cool. I got that in here. So, like, that little tiny bit of rapport. But I think it's about getting the bill from them. If they put effort and energy into something that they're going to kind of remember, they'll show up a little bit easier, because they don't know me from Adam or Eve or anybody. So getting them to do a little bit. And then when I get on the call with them, kind of prefacing it, explaining it in a way that here's what we're going to do today. Here's what we're going to go over. And then just being polite and happy and fun. Like, the last guy I talked to, he failed credit. But while I was building his design out, we're chatting about, like, he's telling me about how his feelings are with Trump. And, I'm like, oh, yeah, my feelings with Trump and, what's going on in town and different things. Like, there's some moments where we still get that chit chat, but it's just less because, I can't see what's going on in his house and talk about his dog or his cat or whatever. So it becomes a more logistical about them, less about chit chat stuff, so that they don't get annoyed and bored and just want to jump off the call.
Yeah.
What's the point here? You're talking about my dog for the past 10 minutes. Are we going to get around to this, or can we go do something? Compared to in person, they're not going to kick you out of the house as easy. So a little bit different.
Yeah, I think most logistical closers, it's basically like, even I have this kind of thing on closing, which is all you're there to do is help them make a decision. You're not there to close them. You're not. And most door knockers will knock on the door. They'll sit down. I've been the same way, and it's literally like, oh man, I finally got into the house. I finally sweat my butt off. Now I'm gonna, talk to this person more. And if they don't close, my ego is hurt. And recently, I've been like, my ego is not a part of this. Like, it's literally like, I'm just here to help you make a decision. I don't want you to choose me. I just want you to decide. That's it.
Yeah.
Kind of take the similar approach to selling, or.
Well, I think that goes back to, like, being a new seller, new closer. Like, whenever I first started, I needed money. Like, if I, my first few sales, like, I needed to make money off this sale, and it was more about the sale because I needed to get that first, big commission so I could stop the side job or the side hustle or thing and make this thing full time. So subconsciously, on accident, it was oh, I got to be the best. I got to do the best. I got to, like, I'm thirsty for this sale. And if I didn't get it, like, oh, why didn't they like me? Or, all this, whatever thoughts in your head. But then when it becomes, all right, yeah, I've had a couple sales now. The money's in the bank. I'm not so thirsty about it, whether this one does or not. Like, I've seen it. I've seen it work. I know how to get sales. And, the cash is in the bank. I'm not as stressed. So, if this guy doesn't sign later today, or the next one doesn't sign later today, I know if I keep going through my process and keep talking to more homeowners, there will be ones that do sign, and I'll continue to be okay. So I
And
think
you
that yeah, it comes with experience and just continuing to do it.
that more of a abundance mindset, which with all entrepreneurs and salespeople alike, it's like once they hit that abundance mindset, and you can have an abundance mindset even when first starting out.
Hmm.
Because if you're first starting out, then you're like, well, I have this job over here, but I still am okay. My bills are still paid. This is just extra. This is just something that I need to push me to the next level.
And that's the thing.
But
They're kind of comfortable. They're like, I have this job paying for everything, and I just kind of want to do this part time until it takes over.
mhm.
And they're not super stressed about it. So it's like, yeah, whether this one does or not. And I think the homeowner will sign more when you're like, whether you do or not, compared to you being like thirsty and like, I got $2 to my name, like, let's sign. I'm gonna stay in your house till like 9 o'clock tonight, 10 o'clock
Yeah.
tonight, like getting this signed. And then they're like, oh, now I gotta think about it. Like if you're too pushy or too much, like the homeowner can kind of feel that too. And that just comes back to, yeah, being kind of comfortable in life. And I think it's funny, my mom, back whenever I got out of high school, she's like, you have to go to college. At that
Mhm.
time, I didn't know what I wanted in life. And so I went to college for theater. What are you going to do with a theater degree? I was like, you're making me go. I'm going to do like the dumbest thing. But I think it served me well now in sales because there's times when I'm nervous. I'm like, oh, something in like, I don't want them to not close because of me personally, my ego. Maybe there's times that I'm like, man, I want to make more money to go on this trip or do this thing or buy this thing. Like this sale could, it could get me there today, or I'm going to have to, work for another week or whatever to get that thing. So there's times when I have that fear, and I think what is it? Fake it till you make it. Like go into the home and still act cool, pretend it doesn't bother you, or do the phone call, just act like you're cool with it. You can be screaming on the inside, but if you're cool, calm, and collected on the outside, the homeowner would appreciate that and be more apt to purchase. Because if they feel that you're pressuring them, pushing them, they're going to want to think about it. They're going to talk to the husband or wife. And I think sometimes we project our own fears and concerns and thoughts into the homeowner, and it jacks up our sales. That's what I did as a new closer. I'm very analytical and technical. I can talk all day long. I wanted to learn everything about solar before I sold it, hence me wanting to do YouTube ads before I outsource it or whatever. So I felt like I needed to explain this stuff to the homeowner, like, oh, the tax credit, oh, the net metering, and if you don't do this, you're not going to get this. I shot myself in the foot so many times, and that's why I think virtual is great for me. I can sit behind and read a script and stay on point, compared to, thank God I'm not in the house and you guys don't let me start rambling on about things and get back into my script. I probably wouldn't close as much if I was left to my own devices in the home.
Wow, yeah. I mean, yeah, that makes sense because you're just sitting over there. At least you have it right in front of you. You already have your systems and processes right there. Just that's awesome. That's why virtual just seems like it would be the
I feel like it's scalable too because I did end up working. The thing that really I think helped me was I moved to Utah last year. Yeah, all last year. Ended up working in office with a telesales team and really learned like the script, the process, kind of being in the office, hearing other closers. I was not. I'm still not. I don't think the best closer by any means, but being able to be around others and hear how they close and stuff. I feel like again, whenever you're virtual with things, that's the big thing is the culture and community of it. If you don't have a team that you can kind of be around, or like boiler room chats and stuff to hear kind of what others are doing, you start to ramble off on your own, like get off on your own tangents.
Mhm.
And I think with virtual, the cool thing with scaling it is that I've seen and I've been able to take people and say, look, you're brand new, you don't know a dang thing, literally read this script. You're not going to know all the objections and how to handle them properly. But if you just have enough appointments and you literally read this script, you're going to fall into sales. And I think we say the same thing with door knockers. Like,
Mhm.
just go out and talk to enough people, you're going to fall into the ones that, you're like, hey, do you want solar? Like, terrible door pitch. But if you did that 2,000 times, you're going to get, some sales or some appointments. But I
Yeah.
think with virtual, yeah, like you can hone it in so much easier. Because I did go out and door knock for a couple weeks. I was like, let me try it. And I constantly was trying to like record the pitch, hear the other door knockers, record it, listen to it back. And it's just very difficult to have a uniform way of doing it. I think that you can definitely build a team of hundreds, thousands of door knockers and train them all up and make them successful. That's what solar's based on, I feel. But I think you can I can listen to call recordings. I can listen every single time when my setters are setting a call and
Mhm.
instantly catch it and fix it compared to they're out a mile away from me and who knows what they're doing for the day and I can't correct it and fix it as easy. So you can scale faster, make sure everybody's doing things, according to policies and stuff and build bigger, better, faster, stronger, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I recorded my sales. That's one of the number one things that you should do is record your sales, even if you're knocking. But it gets to a point where like you can't you can't record everybody just because it's like first of all you're recording, so you're like but at the same time you can't really you can't put a body cam on like you hear all the ruffling, all the other stuff. So like yeah,
Right.
you can record, but it's definitely
I did it before, like try to put the voice recorder on, put it in my back pocket, but then like turns out I didn't even hit record and I only got the last 30 seconds when I went to unrecord or something dumb. And yeah, it's just, and I mean, there's different tools and stuff with virtual. I use a software where it's, records all the calls and everything.
Mhm.
I know people that close virtually just on their cell phone and they'll have to hit a record button somewhere else and then call on their phone. So there's times that tech glitches and different things happen, but I feel like being able to yeah, build and scale your team, being able to control it a little bit more, just the quality control, quality assurance, you can definitely do that with virtual easier than door to door.
Yeah, I think it's just more it's just more controlled because they were also able to, you got everything. You're in the place of power basically. Because instead of you coming to their door, I feel like you're instead of being in the place of asking like for them and they're in the place of power and they're opening up the door, they're calling you and you have everything set up and they're coming to your environment. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's
And then they get
definitely
to stay in their environment if they want to be sitting at home on the couch and feel comfy while they do this, and that's something else for me too. One of the things that's weird to me with the door to door, like I guess the type of person I am is if someone random just came and knocked on my door, I'd be like, I don't exist, go away. And so like the way that my mindset of it is, I know it works. I know there's a million people out door knocking. I know a
Mhm.
million people answer the door, and there's a lot of people that are like, why would I answer a random phone call, a cold call? Like there's people that don't like that. So there's good and bad with both sides of it, but it just fits me so much better. And I think that's what we need to do as a closer, a salesperson, appointment setter. Like if you love going out and knocking doors all day, do it. Like I don't try to tell people you should only be virtual, you should only be this. I tell people like that get my program and stuff and automate appointments or build a call center. I'm like, if you came from door knocking, don't try to get my stuff and switch it all today. Like, still set appointments for in person.
Mhm.
Then maybe one or two try to switch over to virtual. Like, stay door knocking forever if you want to. Just add this in and supplement some things. I think we should be doing what fits for us. And if we're the type that's like, I love to get out, I love when people knock on my door, I love to answer it and chit chat with them, like, yeah, you're a perfect door knocker. If you're the type that's like, if anybody knocks on my door, I'm gonna like go hide or like pull my gun out on them or something. Like maybe you shouldn't be door knocking. If you don't like that approach, then you trying to do it to someone else is going to be weird and awkward, and they'll feel that. So do the approach that works best for you.
Yeah, it's just all about what works best. I mean, I wanted to ask you a question. So, what is your most interesting customer interaction? Because I've knocked doors and I've had guns like pulled on me and stuff, but like I feel like you wouldn't have to deal with that as much. But I want to know what an interesting interaction that you've had.
I mean, I haven't had like it's fun because I don't get to see people. I don't have. I do remember one time when I door knocked. totally off topic of virtual, but when I was out somewhere Southern California door knocking, a girl that was knocking with me that day, she came across a house that had like the like rainbow flag, and it said like Black Lives Matter, Gay Lives Matter, like all lives matter. And she's like, I love knocking those houses. Those are the nicest, kindest people. And I'm like, yeah, let's go knock it. She knocked on it, and that lady was the biggest B word ever. She was like, don't ever knock at my door. Don't ever come here. And I was just like,
You never
whoops,
know.
that was backfire. That was the one like all lives matter person that was like no lives matter. So like I remember that because I see the person, I saw like the interaction. I feel like with virtual, the thing that kind of makes it kind of maybe monotonous sometimes, but also great for me is like, again, this goes back to getting people to show up to the appointment. It's very easy to forget. Like I don't see you, I don't, have a something to remember. It's easy just to get off the call and forget about them like 5-10 minutes later if you didn't close, if it was just a appointment setting thing that you didn't actually set or you didn't actually close them. I think my best or my most memorable moments were a couple people when I was in Southern California. That's like my primary market where I sell. And it happened to be like I called a guy, he was all interested, he was going to sign, and then he's like, I need to chat with my wife. And I was like, well, actually, I'm driving back to Utah tomorrow. You guys are like on the way. I think it was I don't know, somewhere by like Ontario, California. I was like, I could just pop off the highway and like come say hi and introduce myself, answer any questions. And I get there and meet the wife, and she was like, yeah, I'm like, now that you've met you in person, super comfortable. I got a YouTube video because when I do anything in person, I'll like record myself with people. I'm like, yeah, why'd you decide to go solar with me? So the most memorable ones are the people that I've met in person and been able to spend 5-10 minutes and just say, cool, like we were almost ready to get everything done just to solidify it in person and say hi. And those people are the ones that like still will send me referrals and different things. But again, the cool thing is I can't tell you all the people I've sold that I've never met them face to face, and I'll still get text randomly with a referral or something too. So I don't know. I think we put too much pressure on I have to be in person, I have to build this rapport. Just be a positive, happy person that does good by people. They'll still remember you long term, whether you talked about their dog or their cat or their bumper sticker or not.
So you're saying with referrals, right? You were saying most of the people are just like they text you and they're like, "Hey, I got a referral." But do you have like any referral programs, or how do you ask for referrals or anything like that?
I do let people know that I'll pay, depends on the time of year and how generous I feel, but I'll pay up to $1,000 or up to $2,000 for referrals. And I say up to because I shot myself in the foot once. I'm like, yeah, I pay $1,000 for referrals. And then I got like a 3 kilowatt that paid me nothing. And I was like, oh, Lord. So up to, and it just depends, what I feel like doing at the time. But I'll kind of mention it throughout the presentation a little bit, like, awesome, nice to get to meet you today. We're just going to go over kind of how solar works, kind of what the next steps and everything are. It's not like we can come out and put panels on your roof tomorrow. There's a little bit of a process. And then FYI, if this is something you end up wanting to do, I do offer referrals and different things. So I'll like mention that, kind of sprinkle it in the beginning. And then towards the end, another kind of plug is I started, even though he's all D2D, what's his name? Michael McDonald. I started joining his $69 a month daily Zoom calls, and the dude's he's got some great stuff on like the same day close, getting referrals and things. So I ended up purchasing his program as well, and sprinkling in some of what he teaches on how to get referrals. And one of my favorite things, I don't know, I won't say too much because Michael O'Donnell might end up getting mad at me for sharing this, but his same day close where he talks like towards the end, sometimes we get people that are like, need to think on it, need to sleep on it. And he's got this kind of technique of, absolutely wants you to sleep on it, think on it, don't try to be weird and be like, no, I can't send you the proposal. Like we just gone through this whole thing. You spent an hour with me. I'm not going to send you the proposal. Like that's just going to make the homeowner mad and not want to call you back. So he's like, send it over to him. Let him get that little win, but then remind them that you do referrals or remind them that you like a special offer or something, and then kind of come back with a little bit different offer and see. You're not going to get every sale, but by letting people know some other urgency or hey, don't forget that I offer, referrals. Your $20,000 system, $30,000 system is just 20, 30 friends that you refer over the next 10 years or something. So little things to kind of sprinkle it in to the process. And then at the end, I'll also text homeowners over my personal cell phone number, and I'm like, my cell phone is 100% on silent all day long. The only two things that ding or notify is a second app that I have just purely for a business number that I give homeowners, and then also my CRM and automation things, so I can see if homeowners respond back to that. So I tell them, you can call, you can text at midnight, 2 a.m., whatever you need. Not going to affect me because my phone's on silent, and then I'll get back to it in the morning. And then when I send that to them, I'll also tell them, don't forget that I also do referrals. So I think just little things. And again, people aren't going to want to work with you if you're being scammy or shady or weird with them. But if you're like, yeah, being honest and real, getting you the best price, this whole thing's about you, a little bit technical, logistical, making sure that they understand things. You can't be too technical. You'll shoot yourself in the foot with it. They'll ask a million questions. And then just remind them you do referrals. Check in on them, every few months or 6 months or something. And people just want to naturally bring you more business if you take care of them.
Do you have like an automation set for like a month later or 6 months later? Like, hey, how's it going? Is your system working all right? Everything like that?
Personally, I should. I don't. And I'm like queen of automations lately, and I, sell a whole program and stuff on it. I that's just something I do personally. They have my business number, but as soon as we close, I give them my cell phone, and it's not like I'm closing 5 million deals a month and I can't take the time to message them personally. But I do have, like, in my calendar, I've got times blocked off in the day and the week, and like every Friday at a certain time, it's like call homeowners back, check in on projects, make sure keep them up to date. And then I'll also not respond, but reach out to homeowners that have sold a while back. Hey, happy 4th of July, how's it going? And it's really only, I think, maybe up to 50, 100 people that I kind of stay in touch with. And I do a lot of copy pasting, like copy paste the same message and send it to them and just make them feel like it's personable. And I think that's it's weird too. You didn't ask the question, but cancellation rate. People think cancellation rates with virtual is like, it's got to be high. Like, they don't see you, they don't know anything about you. I've literally had, I think, 3 cancellations this whole year before site survey. And I kind of knew that it might, like, oh, let me just try to sign you today, and kind of not sure. And then like they canceled the next day, and I kind of expected it. I've had that. That's all I've had. I haven't had cancellations after it ends up going through site survey. And because I don't want to mess my M1s up, my M2s and stuff for sure. I don't want clawbacks, but I don't know if it's some fancy magical thing about me. I don't think that's the case. Again, I think it's good price, being personal and being nice to people, but like just going through the process, it's the script, I think, that ends up that's a really big part of it. Just making people feel like they understand it. There's no confusion. There's really no questions. At the end of things, I have my number. I'm going to walk them through the whole process. And I tell everybody towards the end, I'm like, all right, we signed everything. I really hope you like me, because you're stuck with me for the next very long time. Like, I'm going to be here. I'll call you back after the site survey, make sure everything's good to go. Call you back whenever we get the CAD engineer design. I'll be back in touch, just kind of through the process, keep you informed, reach back out after everything gets installed. And I think that stuff, just people, they don't cancel. So,
So with cancel, like one thing I wanted to ask was, a lot of people talk about what to do, and when someone's getting into something, they're like, hey, you should definitely do this. But when someone getting into virtual solar, what would you tell them like not to do?
don't wing it. That goes back to same thing. If I was in home and didn't have my script in front of me, like I'd have to, I don't know, like just focus on the slideshow and make sure the homeowner doesn't distract me with anything, and like try to stick with Aurora or Solo or whatever, and just like only look at that and keep the blinders on. Don't try to wing it when you're virtual either. Don't try to go off script. Don't try to do it without a script. I'm not saying that you have to 100% be scripted all the time. Like I go off script. I, wing a couple little things with homeowners, but have it in front of you so that you can pull yourself back on track. I
Mhm.
think that, we try to add this extra flair or do this extra thing. And especially if you're new to virtual, anytime that there's different variables, so I'm, figuring out Zoom or figuring out the phone side of it, figuring out my software, figuring out the script, all these different little variables, you have certain things that are constants. Have the
Yeah.
script, have your tabs up. That's another thing with virtual is I tell everybody that's like in my call center team when I onboard them, I'm like, big thing that people kind of overlook is carve out a space for yourself. Like if you don't have an office and you're working from home, don't work in your bedroom because you're not going to want to be as productive. You're going to see your bed and want to sleep. Or you're going to be trying to sleep and see your desk and want to stay awake. Carve out a space that, make a desk, build a desk, buy a desk, whatever. Have a couple screens and just this dedicated space that you can leave the office, even though it's in your own house. Leave it at the office, and then you can be productive and stuff whenever you're working. And then I have a million tabs up throughout the day whenever I'm working on a million different things. But every single time on a sales call, I'll cut all the other extra screens and tabs. Just have only my script, have my sales tool, it's like design portal. I have a couple different installers I work with, so I make sure to have place where I actually like submit the project, get the site survey and everything up, get rid of all the other extra distractions. I've got one right now, a tab that's kind of flashing and blinking on me. You want to get rid of all that stuff, and even like the chats, like team chats, you know, have it bookmarked to where you can easily pull it up and ask for help. Issue with the Aurora or Solo or whatever. Somebody help me fix this problem. Get
Mhm.
rid of it when you're on the sales call though, so you don't have dings and beeps and stuff coming through, and just build a focus, stick with the script, pull yourself back on track, and also close it. I know, like we were talking in the very beginning of this call, like those, closer. There's a difference between somebody that's an order taker and like, here's all the information, here's all the education, great, here you go, here's the proposal. What do you want to do?
Mhm.
Not sign it today. Like they're never gonna want to say that. So like close it. Walk through the process, and it's the same as in person too. Like, cool, everything makes sense here. I told you the next steps. Awesome. We're gonna go ahead and do that soft credit check real quick. What's your date of birth, annual income, whatever. Assume it and close it. One of the big things for virtual is you can come back if you're door knocking. It's a lot easier to come back, knock on their door, catch them at home, re-sign something, or you know, go over it again. Virtual, if they don't like you, and I'm sitting in Illinois right now, if they don't like me and they're over in California and something happened that glitched, they don't want to move forward, they just never have to answer their phone again, and I'm screwed. So sign everything on the first call as much as you can, and if they do end up wanting to think about it or have to leave the call, set a follow-up time. Don't make them feel pressured, because until you get it signed, until everything's moving forward, you still got to be tiptoeing a little bit to make sure that they end up answering your call again. So
Yeah.
don't be too pushy, and don't forget to sign it before you get off the call.
I'm curious. I don't know if you want to go too much into your closing, but on that same type of topic, a lot of people when they close on solar, they say, "Hey, we're not really doing anything crazy today. We're just sending the application to the city." Do you do anything like that? Because I feel like with your closing, you're solidifying. You're not saying, "Hey, we're just sending it to the city right now, and then you'll have it installed later."
I will say, like, I don't say we're sending it to the city because, like, I mean, it's kind of true, but it's kind of not. Like,
Yeah.
where I will sometimes, I don't like to close on site survey, but I will sometimes kind of like, look, we got to get the preliminary docs and everything squared away. We still have to do the site survey just to make sure that this whole thing can go through. But I'll ask them questions through the process of, is your roof in good shape? Any idea about your main panel? Like, again, being virtual, you can't see their main panel, so you don't know if they need an MPU. Ask them. 90% of people have no clue. And so finding out how old their house is or how old their roof is and different things, you can kind of guesstimate. If it's a newer home, probably good, don't need it. If it's a larger system size or certain things, like buffer it into the deal. Just put it in and tell homeowners, look, hey, got this thing in here just in case. Once we get the site survey figured out, if it comes back that we don't need this, then you get an extra couple grand back. Cool. But no, I don't do anything about the city sending stuff over, making sure we get approval from the electric company. I'll just straight up be like, cool. So this whole thing, numbers seem good, everything looks good to go. We got to sign off on some preliminary docs, make sure that you understand everything as it is today. Then we can schedule the site survey, and then we can come back. And if anything changes, it shouldn't, but if anything changes, especially if they told me something with their roof or they were unsure about something, then I'm like, we'll just revisit and, then we can move the whole thing forward. But that's, I think, goes back to the cancellation thing.
Yeah.
Pretty solid by the time I'm closing them. And because I'm going to have a really hard time getting them back on the phone if they're not sure, like, I want to walk them through a solid process where they're like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
Or, let's make sure it kind of goes through after the site survey. But there's really no confusion on, we're signing the contract right now. And it's not, if you want to cancel, you can cancel. But yeah, then we got it all done and ready to go. So you can just move this thing forward.
I feel like that's why a lot of people don't get that's why a lot of cancels come, like, because they want to get that deal closed. So they're like, hey, we're not doing anything too crazy, just sending the application out to the city, and then I'll send you a text, but you just got to sign this, and we'll go from there. I feel like that's why a lot of people get those cancellations.
And not just that, but even like on the appointment settings. So built with this call center, like, again, being new to closing a couple of years ago, I did all the pitches, the scripts, the net metering coming up, and like, knock on the door. We're here with the net metering program. I wore the yellow vest, and like I tried to do,
I did the hard
yeah, I try to do all this stuff. And I think that has to do with just being newer, trying to figure out your groove, what works for you, like seeing the guys and the girls that do this and kind of emulating them a little bit. Like, yeah, there's these guys out there doing the yellow vest and the stuff. But then I saw guys too that were like just straight up going to homes and be like, hey, I'm the local solar guy. Like, why don't you have solar on your roof? And like, it's about confidence and I don't know, just like understanding your craft a bit more. You don't have to hide so much on the, we're just sending the docs over to the city, or like once you really know what you're saying and doing and confident with it, you can just straight up tell homeowners like, yeah, we're going to send this in to like our company, get this agreement signed and everything, and get the docs taken care of so we can get the site survey. If something changes on your end, I sit there and I'll read through the docs with them if they want to read the whole thing, which makes it take 2 hours sometimes or longer. But yeah, like if they're reading through the whole thing, we're probably signing.
Yeah.
Why we wouldn't be. And I'll make them feel comfortable about the whole thing, because that's the thing is, if we trick them, if we lie, if we're like, I'm here with the net metering program and I'm wearing this vest and this hat and whatever, like, it's marketing. It gets us in the door. But then if at the end of it, we're like, yep, we're just doing this thing that it's no big deal, whatever, they can go back and read the docs. They can go read that it's a contract, that it says the loan, it says all this stuff. And they're like, if you would have just told me that from the start, probably would have been fine with it. But the fact that now you told me one thing and I'm reading something different, I feel like that's where the cancellations would kind of come into play more.
I feel like that's why there's a lot of hate for solar, like a lot of scammy stuff for solar, is just because there's a lot of people. There is a bigger commission in it, and it's just a lot of people who are like, they want to get that little commission. I'm pretty sure, like, I wasn't around for it, but when door to door first started, when a lot of people were just coming out, they were trying to sell those phones, probably lying to people to get in the door for that. Probably with the Vivint push, there are a lot of like people who are like, oh, we're just going to set this up for free or something like that, and trying to snake people. I mean, I've sat down by guys who were like totally just saying like whatever, and then just like one guy, he would like type fake things into his keyboard, and I'm like, dude, what is going on now?
With a couple, and that's, I think that's the hard thing for us now, because I talk to people and they're like, no, I got scammed, or my friends got scammed. It's like, oh well, like, let's still set up an appointment. And they're like,
yeah.
Oh. But I talked with a lady in Massachusetts, and like, we've all heard this, but this one lady in Massachusetts I was talking with, she wants solar. Her and her husband signed up for it a year ago, and turned out they didn't know they signed up for it. She was told by the guy that they were just doing the soft credit check, and somehow like the whole entire docs were signed and everything, and like all her husband agreed to was the soft credit check. And then it ended up being somehow they were paying, they had to pay for the solar system that they never got installed. Like I guess the loan company thought it was installed, and they had to make payments for like months until they reached out to someone and got it squared away. I don't think they got a lawyer involved, but somehow something got figured out to where they didn't have to make the payment, so they got reimbursed. But she's like the guy literally told us we were just doing some kind of soft credit check and it wasn't that big a deal, and here we are now with like, you know, 5 grand in debt for the last year or so because of payments we made on something we didn't have. And I'm like, that is rare. It shouldn't happen, but like that goes back to any industry. I think anything, car sales, real estate, I don't know, Bitcoin. Like there's a million things out there that people are gonna try to scam on it. And yeah, there's big commissions in this industry, so they're feeling like they gotta, I don't know, be scammy to get it. But that's the thing that I love about this industry too. Like what made me passionate for solar whenever I got it and wanted to get into the lead side and then selling it, I realized, you know, what other industry is there? Like car sales, you don't need a car. Like it's nice, super awesome to have, but it's not like a necessity. Real estate, you know, like you can still rent, and you know don't have to get big fancy homes, whatever. You can just have something modest, and you know there's good money to be made. But yeah, it's kind of like solar where you gotta get your own lead gen or something. Same as like insurance, but you don't really need those things. I guess housing you do, but again, you can rent. But I feel like solar is, yeah, every single person in the country has an electric bill. If you do it right, you do it ethically, we can get so many homes. We can get, I did some math one time looking at like Google Maps in a neighborhood. And I was like, just that neighborhood alone, if it was 5 grand, 5 grand, 5 grand, or even 2 grand, 2 grand, I'm like, just that neighborhood, I could retire.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. And if I even drop my price just a little bit, you know, I'm virtual so I can get you a better deal. Like, there's so many opportunities. There's so many homes that we can get. We don't have to be scammy or sleazy. Like, it's something they already buying anyway. Electricity. You know, if we can get them, be honest and ethical with them, and they can even give us referrals, we can stay in this industry long term compared to being blacklisted. And then, you know, we can make a good living with this. So again, I think it's any industry, anything, there's people that are going to be scammy and try to capitalize and get out of it. But I think if we continue to do things ethically and honestly and show homeowners, yeah, like all these other companies were wrong and explained it wrong and jacked you up. This is why you should trust me, and I'm here with you for the long run. We can a lot of people got out of California with the net metering 3 change because
Mhm.
they're like, I don't know how to sell here now. I'm like, now I can clean up. I can be here for the rest of my life, and all the people who don't know what they're doing can get out. So I think if we dig deep in the industry, just get past that surface level of, you know, beginner, we could really do this long term.
Awesome. So in that same spirit, we're getting close on time. So what can we expect from you long term?
Oh, a lot of things. I'm really excited, and this was kind of I've started to do some interviews and things recently because somebody asked me a while back, they're like, Krista, why do you have this course, and why are you teaching other people how to do these things? Like, if you're making a bunch of money in solar, and I'm like, you know, you get to a place where, and I'm not multimillionaire, I'm not, you know, where I want to be financially for sure. I got a lot of things I still want to do and more sales and stuff, but you get to a place where the money's not as much of an issue and you want to see other people succeed. And I feel like I'm probably not ever going to have kids. So, you know, helping other people in this world is kind of making my dent. So my goal is to build a large sales force, virtual. I know that there's a couple other big names out there bigger than me, but I want to be like the biggest female in the solar virtual industry and being able to help just a lot of people around the country and the world. I've got guys that are in Pakistan, I've got people in the Philippines that work with me, and it's crazy to see like the work ethic they have compared to us lazy Americans. And so to be able to do things bigger, better, to be able to give back to other people in other countries and here in America. And so one of the things I'm working on is just this call center, being able to employ more people in and outside of the U.S. It's cool to hear with some of my callers. Like I had a guy that probably one of my top callers. He what is it? He has a laptop, and he sent some picture of like his phone of his laptop on his lap. He's like, "Oh, just set this appointment." And I was like, "The laptop's on your lap. Like, do you have a desk or like a chair or anything? Like, well, how are you working?" And he's like, "I'm actually renting a hostel away from my family for the week so I can work with you because I don't have internet at the house." And I'm like, "Wait a second. You're renting a hostel for like super cheap, like a couple bucks a day so that you can work, and then you don't even have like you're doing this on the bed at the hostel. You're just sitting there like hunched over." He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Here's money. Like, here's some extra money so you can get a chair and a desk and stuff." And like, I've done that with my assistants just to be able to give back to like people that are hard workers. I'm not going to reward someone if they don't earn it, but to be able to give back to people. And like, I think the bigger goal of things is, doing more charity work and stuff, being able to help more people around the world. And I think it's going to be by employing them, not just handing them free things. So that's one of the bigger things I'm doing. And then being able to do things like this, interviews and calls where people can learn, how to do virtual and change their life. So yeah.
Well, everybody, you can check her out. It's Krista. You can check out Krista's Solar Krista down below. I'll have all of her links, and then you guys will see it posted all over. There's a bunch of shorts that are going to be taken out of this, and you'll probably see it all over Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all that. But everybody, I'll go ahead and catch y'all later.
TikTok and Instagram, huh?
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Noah. Thank you.